always wanted to do this. I was like, oh, I'm like a Twitch.
Like, comment, and subscribe right
Don't
here.
forget, up there.
All right, great British make-off. Let's begin. Okay, so shall we take a look at what I've got going on? Should I do the whole thing in a British accent?
So the plan is that we're going to like make a few things, right, and just see how it goes. And
we're just going to make stuff.
I think Tom's going to judge because he's the British guy in the group.
Tom's going to judge and make some stuff.
Actually, you can judge too. You can judge too.
Yes, yes. Okay, let's go to my screen. Let's go to my screen. I'm working on something here. Okay, cool. These are designs from some of our designer friends. And these are really cool. These are in Figma design. And I want to actually like build out this prototype and like actually play with all these games. So I started already. I took this design, I gave it to Make, I just pasted the design in. And here's where I'm at. So now I can hover on all of these and you see the arrows light up. I've got the memory game working. So now I can actually play this memory game. My memory's not actually very good, although that was a match. And I did that just by giving, Make another design. So I gave it the second screen, I told it to build it, and I'd say this is close enough. And now what I'm gonna do is, let's see if we can build this third one. So I'm gonna just take this frame in Figma Design, I'm gonna copy it, it's on my clipboard now. I'm gonna paste it into Make, and I'm just gonna say, now when I click on Doodleville, take me to this screen where I can select from the pen tools and actually doodle on the notebook paper. And now we're off to the races. Make's gonna kickstart this. A couple other things that I've got going on are, I've got this design for this like really cool recipe app. These are all in mobile, and I also wanted to just build this out. So like screen 1, screen 2, 3, and 4. And here, I did it. So this is World Peas. Select one of these, pick some ingredients. Now you can go, show recipes, scroll on the recipes, click, let's do zesty melon salsa, and now see the full recipe app. So now I've got the full prototype working, but I think I'm gonna riff on these next, and maybe add some new features to this. So these are the couple things I've got going on. Now let's flip over to Tom.
Sure, yeah. Oh, that's not Tom's screen.
Oh, that's mine. That's mine.
You can talk if you want.
Oh, I can talk about it. This is,
okay, we're on me.
Now we're back on Tom.
We're on Tom.
I'm feeling musical today. I've got a couple of musical things I want to make. I've actually started making them here. So one thing I've always wanted to build, and I've never had the time, is like something where I can take music off YouTube and create playlists, but it's like iTunes, because I just love the iTunes UI, but I listen to a lot of music off YouTube. So that's what I'm trying to build here. My basic prompt was just, I want to create a YouTube music player app. The concept is like iTunes, but it plays YouTube music instead of MP3 files. And let's start simple. And it's created something here where actually I can take a URL, got some nice German techno here.
Ooh.
And if I paste in the URL, it does add the track to the playlist. You can see it's not pulling in the correct track name, so that's the next thing I'm going to try and iterate on. So this is an example probably where the model, it thinks it can't actually access the data, but I actually know there's a way for it to access the data, so I'm going to use that knowledge to say to it, like, we can use the OEmbed API to get the video name. And hopefully that's going to work. And while that's doing its thing, the other thing I'm playing around with, I'm a wannabe musician. I thought it'd be fun to try and recreate the piano roll editor you get in music software, something like Ableton, where you can click to add notes to a grid. And here again, I sort of said I want to build this Ableton-style piano roll editor. The layout is piano down the x-axis, time along the y. And then again, I'm just starting from a basic interaction. My experience is that you could ask it to do everything in one go, but I think you get higher quality results if you start with the basics, and we'll get the basic interactions correct, and then I'm going to layer stuff on top of that. And it's actually got this pretty good. So next I want to make it so we can change the length of notes, and we can drag notes around. So I'm gonna I'm going to prompt and try and do that and see where we can get to. And maybe Niko, do you want to show what you're doing while I do that?
While you were doing this, actually, let's go over here. I just asked it to make a drum kit. I actually don't know what it sounds like. Is there any way we can get sound too, so I can hear what I'm playing? Let me just. All right. Oh yeah. Okay. We'll try this. I'll put this to my speakers right now, just for a second, so I can hear it. Let's see. Does this work? Maybe this stopped working. Luckily, I actually prompted something already. Oh, here we go. I think what we should do is you should create a record button that takes your mic, and then I can play it, and then you can remix whatever I'm playing drums wise.
Okay. I'll start a new make.
I just like, okay, this is just kind of like me playing around. I was like trying out to kind of like get this shader in the background to react to whatever I'm doing. Might have lost this, but yeah, I think the other thing I've been trying around here is taking in this design, and I was like trying to generate this so it becomes kind of like interactive. And we're gonna try out this in a really extreme state as well. This is an old design of UI2. This is UI that Figma was in before UI2, and we're just gonna try to kind of like say, make this functional. We're gonna see if this works, and I'm like handing it over back to Holly to try to see what Holly's cooking.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, so if you recall, I wanted to add a little Doodleville game, so I gave it this design, and I said, make this. So here's what we've got, just first shot. I can now draw on this notepad, really nifty, but it looks like the little toolbar down here doesn't look quite like the original. If you recall, that's what it looked like. Here I am in Figma Design. So I'm going to copy this over, again, select it to my clipboard, paste it here and say, can you make sure the pencil and paint brush toolbar looks like this? Thanks. And now let's see what happens. If we go back to the recipe app, here I've just this is separate, but I gave it a mobile design, and then I said please make it desktop friendly. And so here I have a desktop version of this where it's just responsive. It's made it into a desktop version. And now let's see. Let's pick some ingredients. I gave it the second screen also, and also asked it to make this desktop responsive. So here's what it could look like on desktop. And then now I want to make that recipe screen desktop. So I'm just going to give it this as well. Oops, sorry, this one, and say, great. Now when I click Show Me Recipes, take me to this screen and make it desktop friendly, please. Cool. So I have I've got my mobile version right here. I'm prototyping my desktop version right here. And then, over here, we are working on the game. How are you guys doing? Anyone got something?
It's going pretty good over here. I'm working on my YouTube music library thing. So we got the basics working.
Should we show Tom's?
So I think I mentioned that it didn't think it could get the video name, but I knew you could do it with this OEmbed API. So this was a case where I just went and told it what to do directly, which sometimes is a useful approach. As intelligent as the models are, sometimes there's stuff they might not know. And so now it's able, like if I copy this track and I paste it in, it's going to be able to pull out the name of it. So I can build up my music library here, which is quite cool. And when I click on a track, it's playing down here. We're not going to put the audio on because of copyright. So I've actually got the basics of this idea that I've always had and never found the time to build. And I've done it in 12 minutes, which is pretty cool. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is make it so this persists the data, because right now if I reload this, my music library disappears. And I'm going to, because I'm a developer, I'm going to use developer terminology, but I don't think you'd have to do this, but I'm going to say persist the data in local storage, and hopefully this is going to go off and store that data. And then I did actually try to make the loop recorder, you mentioned Niko, but unfortunately we cannot access microphone, so I'm going to need to abandon that one.
I see.
Yeah, I think that's a security thing.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately. And then over on my piano roll editor, we've just added the ability to drag the notes around, which is cool. So next I'm going to make it so you can resize them, and so you can scroll this as well so you can see more notes, and then maybe we'll try and make it make some sound. I don't know how that bit will go, but it should be fun. How's things going with you?
I actually built this little, I miss Flash games personally. So what I hope personally that like a lot of people, more people will do is also just create mini little games when they're just having fun on the side. And one thing I'm going to do here now is actually just use our direct manipulation tool behavior to change the font here of this to make it a little bigger. Let's pick, I don't know, Amaretto. Yeah, make this slightly different here. And the cool thing here is that I can actually prompt some stuff. And so we're going to just restart this. Oh, let's change this model here and then restart this, and then we're going to use the direct manipulation tool, and I can now click on the canvas and I can say, hey, I want this canvas element to fill the whole screen. So I think that that's the other thing that like we really wanted to do, was try to create a faster way of creating interactive behaviors within this. But I do wanted to ask if anyone in the chat has really good ideas on what we should be trying out. So like if you let us know, well, we'll get a ping and kind of like we can try that out as well. Let's see, what was the other thing I was like playing out. Yeah, so here is an idea where I was like trying out a chat app essentially, where the first thing I wanted to try is like, what if it could be easier to delete like a message? So the only thing I asked was if I double click, can you make it kind of like make it disappear? And what we're going to do now is we're going to try to say like, hey, if I double click on this, it has physics and it falls down. I don't know if that's going to work, but if like software should feel not as boring as today, then maybe the deletion of a message could like, I don't know, maybe explode or make it disappear or fall down. So what we're going to do is we're going to like say when I double click and delete a message, right? Make it fall down to the bottom of the screen, right? And if it hits the bottom, make it shatter, right? So that's what we're going to try out now. While this is going, Holly, what's up with you?
Cool. Okie dokie. I really like that, Niko. All right, here. So remember, I've got like a game app going. I've got this recipe app that I'm trying to prototype. So I have the mobile version of this. And I actually just duplicated this mobile version. So you can duplicate by, going down to this caret, hitting duplicate. It'll fork this, make a copy, so that I can keep this prototype nice and neat, because I really like where it's at right now. But I forked it, and I added a filter. So while that's working, I'll show you what I wanted it to do. I wanted to add a filter here where I can filter by, vegan, gluten-free, etc. And so while that's working, we should see this momentarily. I think I said, yeah, can you add a filter where I can select and the respective recipes that meet the requirements show up? Pending folks' patience, we can see how this appears. All right, let's jump to one more thing before we go here. And then if you remember, I was also trying to prototype all of this in desktop. So, this is what our first screen looked like. This is what the ingredient selection looks like. Show me some recipes. I gave it this design. I said, this is mobile. Gave it to me in desktop. And I low-key really love what it did. Like, I think this is super neat. I love the hover interactions it added. And so the last step is I'm going to give it this, recipe design that my designers put together. And I'm going to say, I love this. Now, when I select a recipe, take me to this design. I'll paste it here to attach it and make it desktop friendly, please. Okay, cool. So the final step of prototyping all of this in desktop.
I like that you always say please, Holly.
Thank you, Tom. You gotta be nice. Cool. So now I will be able to fully prototype this desktop version. I've got it fully working on my mobile version, and I'm even riffing on my mobile version in this duplicated file. Let's go back to this game. Okay, so, we've got the memory game from earlier. I've added Doodleville. And so now here's got Doodleville. I will admit the icons are too small. I think that probably this has to do with the design file I gave it and just making sure that these are laid out properly. It could just be difficult, like the auto layout for the model to understand. So I might work on giving it to the model one by one.
Which is actually, it's an interesting thing you raise there, is that the quality of the input Figma design will affect the quality of the output. So if you use auto layout and the design's more structured, you're more likely to get the results you hope for, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool because it's got the logic, right? It knows that the pencil has been selected, it knows that the pen's been selected, it knows that the brush has been selected. So I'm just gonna like live, do this and say, okay, so I'm gonna say, this should be the icon for the, let's see, what are we calling this? This should be the icon for the pencil, selection. And just see if, oh, I actually can't attach that one. I might not be, we'll come back to that. That might be why, the model doesn't know how to do that one. Okay, cool. So you got the memory game, we got the doodle game, roughly working. I'll have to troubleshoot that a little bit later, but I actually really like that, I can draw all of this here. Now, I don't have designs for like piggy bank, for example, and I'm gonna do something wild and just see like what the model makes up if I ask it to make me a piggy bank app. So I'm just gonna say, I don't have a design for piggy bank, but given the styles and the games you saw for the other ones, what would you make? I'm admitting this is a wild card. Like, it doesn't have any images yet. I might want to go find one for it to use just so it's not super, super crazy. Let me go do that, and then we'll go to Tom.
Yeah, I wanted to show a couple of things which I think are quite interesting, potentially. So I've been making progress on my YouTube app, if we can switch over to my screen.
Yeah.
And like, I've managed to make it...
Can we flip to Tom, please?
Oh, we're flipping.
Oh, cool.
There we go.
Cool. Okay, yeah. So I've made it so it can pull out the artist name from the track I had, which I just told it the logic here, like if a title matches artist-title, pull it out of there, otherwise use a channel title. We can see this is working here. I wanted to show a feature here where like I've added this search up here, but I actually want it to be over here. And so there's several ways you could do that. You could just describe it, but what I'm going to try doing is using this point to edit tool. And what this does is it lets you select a part of the make result, and then it tells the model essentially, this is the part the user has selected, and so you can point to specific things. So I'm going to say, select this header area and say, move the search box to the top right of this. And the other thing I wanted to show, which I think is quite interesting, is I've got this piano roll thing, and it's working pretty great. Like, I can drag my notes around, I can make them longer. I made it so you can scroll, and like, if we scroll down, you can actually see that when I click, the notes are not appearing in the right place. And this is, this is just like a bug. But I know from past experience that sometimes you can get stuck in this loop of trying to fix these bugs and you actually don't really make any progress because some stuff is just hard. So what I'm going to try doing is saying, I'm going to say like, when I click a note and the grid is scrolled vertically, it appears too low down or something. Let's debug this, add some logs, and I'll paste them back to you. So this I found can be quite a useful approach when you're trying to debug complicated problems, is you can actually ask the model to give you some debug logs, and then I'm going to go into the console over here, which I got into with Command Option I, and then hopefully what I'm going to be able to do is like do the interaction which is causing problems, and I'm going to copy the logs and paste them back and ask it to try and fix it based on that. And I know from past experience that for things like drag and drop, which are just quite complicated to get right, that can be really effective. But I'm actually super happy with this. I was saying before that I built one of these for a product that I used to work on, and it took like weeks of work. So to be able to get it in like 15 minutes is pretty cool. And yeah, my search things moved. So that was quite a cool example of how you can use point to edit to kind of make like design changes in a kind of AI first way. So I'm going to keep riffing on this. And how's things going with you, Niko?
Oh yeah, let's try this out here. I ended up improving the Space Invaders game, so it's actually now full screen. So that fits,
Cool.
which is really nice. The thing I do want to do though is that, like, I think the nice thing is that, like, I can like play with this, and I copy it here, and I ask is like I kind of want to play with the Space Invaders in like a slightly different way. I want to play with the interaction mechanism there, where I can use the mouse position, and prototyping something like where like the mouse position calculates and recalculates everything, and how to calculate where the barrel has to kind of like go. I always felt that like that's about, but that's, I feel like, what AI is super good at. And so we're going to try out and see how this is going. While this is, we're also running the other thing. It's kind of like where I'm just trying to make it fall down exactly this message where I'm in this chat app, trying to make it fall down from exactly that point. So also just trying to like explore this idea. And yeah, I think the cool thing is that I have just designs over here that I've been playing with essentially, and trying to see how I can use some of these things in some of these other places. One of those things that we're going to add in here is now take one of those illustrations and make those monsters look similar to our brand illustrations. So I'm just going to take this example here and say, replace the monsters with this graphic here. And so we're going to try to see kind of like that I can change something in a make based on something that I just illustrated inside of Figma Design, and kind of like make it possible that like you can use the power of Figma Design and then bring that back into Make in an easy way. So like you can kind of like work with multimodality in a way, and kind of like gets you to something that you can play with much faster.
Cool.
Let's see what happened here. No, this is not falling down. It's still just there's something. Did you see that?
No.
Like if I send it, sometimes it like appears. Well, what's up?
Oh,
Sometimes I saw it on there. Also, it's funny that it created this iPhone frame here.
You could try taking my debugging approach here.
Oh yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah.
actually, so I've done, if we just switch over to me for a second, I can show that I have this bug where when you were scrolled in this piano editor, it was inserting a note at the wrong Y position. And so what I did, I said, let's add some debug logs and I will send you back the logs. And so then what I did was I did the interaction where it was going wrong, so I added a note, and then I've just gone into my developer console in my browser, and I just copied all these logs, pasted it into the chat and said, here are the logs where it went wrong when it was scrolled. I spelled it wrong. And now we can see that it's actually just fixed it based on that. So I think this is actually quite a cool technique to know about when you get stuck in one of these situations where you just can't quite get out of a loop of fixing a bug. Sometimes asking it to output these debug logs and then paste them in can be super useful. So I'm happy with how this is progressing. And over here on my YouTube one, we're adding a sidebar so I can create playlists of like techno bangers. But so here what I've done is I just sort of said, let's add a sidebar like library, separator, playlist, create playlist button. And it's kind of done what I asked it to, and then I said we'll populate the playlist next, because I just wanted to focus on getting the UI right, and then we're going to move on to populating it. So I just wanted to show that debugging technique again. I'm going to pass it back to you, Holly.
Cool. All right, let's see. So, got my mobile app. I really like how this looks. I got my desktop app. If you remember from last time, I just added the final screen, this design, to make, and I said, you know, please make this desktop interactive. So let's see. I've got my ingredients, got my recipes. I really like how this part looks. And then now, as you can see, it just built it in a desktop version. Now there's some slight things I might want to tweak, like I might want to change the font of World Peas here to be black. I think I can just do that with the direct point and edit tool. So select that. Oh, it's showing up as an image, but I can say, you know, like make this black if I wanted to do that. The other thing is, so yeah, I really like this desktop version, and if I hit, you know, browse more recipes, I'm back here. But if you can remember, I also wanted to turn this piggy bank. So these are my Figma designs, and I'd given Make the prompt. I didn't give it a design, but I said, like, just kind of make me a piggy bank game, given what you know. And so it generated this where it says click coin buttons to save money. And let's see what happens. Okay, so I hit 5 cents. It incremented 5 cents. I've saved 5 cents. This is helping me budget my money, guys. 10 cents. I'm now at 15.
Step by step,
If my target is 25 and I've saved 15, what do I need to do? 10 cents, target reached. I saved 25 cents. That's amazing. This is really cool because, you know, Make does not know what my design system looks like. It only has, you know, the last 3 screens I gave it, and it generated this, which is pretty cool. Now this is, I riffed on this, so I duplicated this, and I gave it kind of a similar prompt to create a piggy bank game. So it looks really similar. It says, click the coin buttons below to add money to your piggy bank. Let's see what happens. Okay, so now we're actually seeing a dime fall from the sky, and then a nickel fall from the sky. And it's also incrementing my amounts and a different target screen. This is pretty fun. Okay, so the math is slightly off there, but like I'll reset and I will keep riffing on this. This is actually really fun, so I might like increase the font here, click coins to save money. How big do I want that to be? I might increase the padding down here, right in the margins. Okay. Do I want that to be bigger?
Oh yeah, you can switch back to me.
Okay.
Cool. In the Space Invaders game, it now calculated correctly on where to target, and now this whole game dynamic entirely changed. Playing Space Invader while you can actually change the direction of where you're shooting is like, that's what I mean. It's kind of like, would I have ever built that like by hand if I would design Space Invader? Like, no, but because I can play with it so quickly, I now have a different idea on how to bring this to life. The other thing I did was, like, you can see here, the graphic that I asked it to add, it just added that into here. So like, I designed something in Figma, even a smaller part, so not the full design, but like Tom, you could like design a beautiful button, make it pop more, right, and bring just the button in to like improve some of those pieces. And so this is what I did over here. I made this a little bit more, it feels like a little flower powery, more on this, and I hope Brand isn't mad at me for using some of their illustrations. But I'm going to say replace the tank with this sticker animation, stickered element. So yeah, I'm now going to just try to kind of like improve the visual design of this to make it kind of like a little bit more unique, a unique version of this. But yeah, this was really fun seeing, and kind of like I can like now use my mouse cursor and I can play around with this, and I can like still move up and down. So like that's kind of like, I don't know, playing with like a different kind of interaction mechanism for Space Invaders. I didn't think I would be doing that today.
No, I mean, yeah, it's cool.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm actually super happy with this. So my piano roll editor, if we switch over to my screen, I've been able to implement some more functionality, which I know from building this sort of thing by hand. Like, this kind of interaction is hard to build and it can take days, but I've got this, and I can add these notes, switch into select mode, drag a box over the notes, and I can move them around.
Whoa.
And like, this is not trivial stuff to build. And so what's really cool is, like, say I was building a piece of audio software, maybe I wouldn't use the output of Make in that actual software, but this is allowing me to like prototype interaction ideas in minutes rather than days, which is actually like incredibly exciting. And I think we're finding at Figma that we're using Make more and more for these kinds of things, and it's something you get once you start getting into a habit of it. You're like, how did that function before? And my music library is actually going great as well. I've added the ability to create playlists, and I can add tracks to playlists, and I can go into a playlist, and then I can play the tracks from it. And what's actually really cool here is that I think I'll probably actually use this. Like, this is actually something I've wanted, and I've been able to build it, and I'm going to use it. So that's actually really fun.
Is it saving this yet?
It is. So if I refresh it, it's all there. It's saved in my browser's local storage. So yeah, this is pretty sweet.
Right? It's like a little bit like some of it is like tool building for yourself. Some of this is kind of like really good looking design stuff. I ended up creating games.
Yeah.
But like and the kind of like the interaction mechanism prototyping thing you have there.
Yeah.
What is your prompt to get this to get this kind of selection thing working?
Ah, yeah, okay. So it's actually quite a simple prompt. I just said, let's add a switch to toggle between draw and select mode. Draw mode is what we have now. Select mode should allow me to drag a box to select multiple notes, which I can then delete or move. And like drag and drop's really hard to do. And actually, I was kind of impressed that it did it, because I know sometimes a model does struggle with drag and drop. But in this case, like, yeah, this is super cool. This is really fun.
Does it play sounds?
It doesn't right now. Maybe I can try and do that.
Yeah, ask it to play sounds. But yeah, I think that's the other part where it's like you can by playing with this, and like you still need to understand roughly what you kind of are asking for, right? Because the details still matter when you're designing interfaces, even with AI. Like and like some things it gets right, but sometimes the details make up the product, and you still need to understand what you want from it, right?
Yeah, and it's an iterative process. Like I've got, I don't know how many prompts here, but 12 prompts here to get to this. You know, it's not like I've one-shotted it, but actually that's enabled me to get closer to the result I had in mind, I think, than if I'd have just said, build me a YouTube music library and not given it any more detail. You might get a good result, you might not. So yeah, I think you can have quite a lot of control if you want to.
Yeah.
How's it all going with you, Holly?
Well, I know we're at time, but I wanted to show off one final thing, which is, you know, the last place we left off is I asked Make to create the piggy bank game, and we saw it, and then I just prompted it to like make it a little bit more on brand, and look at what it did.
That was the prompt?
Yeah, I think this is actually really pretty.
Right,
like
this looks so much better than
I would actually use, this is amazing. So it like made the fonts the same size, it added buttons, it added like even the stylizing of the line width around this progress bar. This is awesome. I have to do math again, but yeah, this is so cool. So anyway, thank you all for joining us.
I don't think we have a winner, do we? We're all winners.
No, the winner is the friends you make along the way.
Oh, wow, yes. Thanks, guys, and yeah, let us know what you think.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.